This is Elaine DeRico with Austin Nutritional Therapy, and this is a short presentation on sourcing real clean food in Austin, Texas. My favorite place to get food is at a farmer's market. The food is usually organic, frequently for sale a few feet from where it was grown, and you can actually talk to people who've raised it, know exactly what's happened to it, and you have complete control over what you're eating. I think this is a good thing. This is Boggy Creek Farm, Larry Butler in the background, and this is one of the Austin chefs in the foreground with a big basket of sage. Boggy Creek is just east of Pleasant Valley Road and north of 7th Street in East Austin. It's 5 acres of alluvial soil. You can see the house, kind of where the rows are pointing at is the house, which was built in the 19th century by the same architect who did the French legation. Here's their sign. Bok choy, one of my favorites. Terrific for antioxidants, magnesium, delicious grilled in a stir fry, roasted. Can't beat it. Makes good sauerkraut too. Beans. This must have been probably about July when the beans were coming in, and in the background here you'll see Larry's polenta, made from an heirloom corn that he grows down at their second farm in Gauze and Grimes. Makes the best polenta you'll ever have. This is the farm stand one fall morning. Looks like pure sunshine, doesn't it? I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. The frost doesn't hurt the greens at all. In fact, it makes them a bit sweeter, and it sure makes them beautiful. Turnips. Vastly underrated vegetable. They're good steamed and mashed, but you can roast them. They have the tangelo trees. You can see the tangelos over on the left, and lots of lettuce greens. Radishes and cabbage. This is the traditional garnish for fish tacos on the west coast of Mexico because it won't wilt in the heat. I like the radishes just with butter and a bit of salt, and of course sauerkraut with that gorgeous Savoy cabbage is always good. And this is Dawn at Boggy Creek. Those green strips are your lunch. This is how food, I believe, should be made. And this is one of the options, the Darth Vader side. These are the kind of the bottom rung of the workers at Boggy Creek. They do a lot of the composting. They do a lot of the fertilizer spreading. They do a lot of the debugging. And they also lay eggs. Not a bad deal. This one is Babette. This is Little Richard and her Richardettes. They have a lot of heirloom variety chickens that lay beautifully colored eggs. A lot more variety and just a lot more gorgeousness. These are the roosters. Love the guy on the right. It's a great look. And this is how food's produced elsewhere. I believe this was labeled chicken breast. It was a British production line. This is the alternative. And the aesthetic at Boggy Creek and most of the organic farms I've gone to is extremely high. Flowers, neatness, beautiful. It's a wonderful environment to work in, but it's also good for the plants, I think. Tomatoes are one of my favorites, and of course the big one at Boggy Creek as soon as they start coming in around June. Lots of heirloom varieties, not bred to ship well, not bred to be picked by machines so that they ripen all at the same time. They're all varieties that are picked for flavor. Hard to beat tomatoes and basil together. Strawberries. Nothing like the huge strawberries that we get when they're seasonal out of California. These are delicate, sweet, unbelievably delicious berries. And this is Larry Butler, Carol Ann Sales. They're the owners of Boggy Creek Farm, kind of the hierarchy. They're the king and queen of organic farm stands in Austin, Texas. They've been doing it longer than anyone, I think. That's my favorite picture of Carol Ann. I mean, this is a powerful woman. She could be doing anything she wanted. She's a great artist. She's a wonderful author. She's brilliant. She's gorgeous. And she's growing my lunch for me. It's just Unbelievable. What an icon. More carrots. You don't get things that fresh, not at Whole Foods or anywhere else. Those were in the field minutes ago. Leeks. It's a cross section of the leek. Again, the aesthetics of food raised like this is very different from factory food. Parsnips. This reminded me of a row of chorus girls. They're delicious roasted. They're good mashed. A lot of things you do with carrots you can do with parsnips, but they have a character that's a little mellower, deeper, not quite as sweet as carrots. Lots of vitamin A though, lots of minerals, especially in the soil at Boggy Creek because it's amended naturally rather than with chemicals. Boggy Creek. This is the front fields that face onto Lyons Road. Lyons Road is off to your right. I think those are the strawberries that are covered. These are the girls taking a dirt bath to kill the mites as opposed to spraying them down with chemicals that invariably are going to get into the eggs. So you can see there's a lot of variety there. They're not just a huge packed crowd of white leghorns. This is one of my favorite appetizers, to have the florets of the colored cauliflower and a couple of dips out. It's just spectacular, especially that purple. It's amazing. And of course, the white's not bad either. And not quite the same kind of vitality. I love that the only living thing in that picture is that struggling little tree off to the right. The corn down in Gauze at the second farm that Larry and Carol Ann have, where they grow the field crops more like cantaloupe, like squash, corn, stuff that takes up a lot more room than they can share with their precious 5 acres on Lyons Road. Beautiful corn. Doesn't that look like jewelry? Heirloom variety, non-GMO'd. Very hard to get non-GMO'd corn right now. Cornbread. The peas. If you've never had fresh peas, you have a treat ahead of you. They are a living plant. They're nothing like the dried peas that most of us eat. This is the way to cook them. A little bit of pork, or I think this was Larry's smoke-dried tomatoes and some onion. They cook as quickly as any other green vegetable, and they're absolutely delicious. That's the front dining room, and those are some of Carol Ann's paintings. I love her color choices. This was set up for the Green Corn Project. One of the benefits that they do, they're extremely active in the organic growers associations around town, and have tremendous respect because of their experience and their dedication. This was set up for a wedding. That's in the backyard. Cucumbers, hugely underrated. You'll notice that at the grocery store, they're all perfectly straight and waxed. These are all of them. This is how they come out of the field. This is what real food looks like. This is the new building over at Boggy Creek. It's, I think they call it the Dog Trot Building. Same kind of architecture as the original house, but I think Larry and Carol Ann have finally gotten air conditioning, which they certainly deserved. And here's another option. It looks like carrots, broccoli, maybe some onion, and greens for dinner. Oh, these were wonderful. If you're going to make these, you just boil some salted water, dip the collard leaves into them for about 30 seconds, pull them out, dump them in ice, and you have these beautiful, pliable, almost like pastry sheets that you can roll absolutely anything into, and it makes everything both delicious and extremely nutritious. It's eggplant with ground lamb. Carol Ann is so good about this. She always has a lot of information. Everyone at the farm stand, and pretty much any farm stand, is going to have a huge amount of information about how it was grown, what you can do with it. And often I've seen something like the escarole, which people didn't recognize, and seen a chef come in and either grab the entire offering or leave a few that were immediately snatched up by other people inspired by what he was going to do with it. But if you want something that's completely fresh and also maybe a little unusual, the farm stands are where to go. Beautiful fog at Boggy Creek. Fennel, yummy. These are an anise-like flavor if you haven't tried them. You can eat the stalks like celery, garnish with the leaves that are nice and feathery. They go nicely in salads. And you can roast or slice the bulb. I frequently will slice up some of it and put it in a chicken before I roast it. Another dawn at the farm stand. I think that was a rainy day is why the lights are on. And they do grow a lot of flowers at Boggy Creek, which is kind of the other part of life. As nutritious as the food is, nice that they take time for the flowers. Here's a puddle at Boggy Creek, one of the more precious things, and more rare. Broccoli. And fast food. This is Jeremiah Cunningham. He grows eggs up towards Elgin, and I've been by his farm. There's a lot of chickens running around eating bugs, eating everything in sight, but they produce the most beautiful eggs, and he does have some that don't get any soy in their feed. And since I'm trying to avoid the GMOs, most soy, either by cross-pollination or because it started out as GMO'd, ends up having GMOs in it. So anything without soy at all, like his eggs, well worth it. I think they're about $6-7 a dozen, but 50 cents for a big dose of protein with a yolk that looks like a school bus in color. It's well worth it. This is one of the hens at Boggy Creek, and this is one of the hens not at Boggy Creek. These are Boggy Creek farm eggs. They're not washed that well. There's a reason for it. There's a cuticle on the eggs that keeps them fresh longer. But you can see the variety. They're not all bred to be the same, bred to meet exact standards. They're all different, and every hen ate different bugs. They're all going to have a slightly different flavor, but delicious, rich, deep flavor. It's kind of like drinking skim milk all your life, and then someone hands you a glass of whipping cream. Much better flavor, much better nutrition. And here's your option. Dawn at Boggy Creek. All of those were in the ground within the last 12 hours. These are Larry's smoke-dried tomatoes. He had I believe it was a windstorm years ago, maybe 12 years ago, and built a smoker because he had so many tomatoes down, picked them all up and smoked them, and it's become quite a sensation. He ships them all over the United States. They're delicious. Just a couple of snips into a pot of beans or pot of greens, anything, really enhances the flavor and gives them a smokiness that's unique and delicious. Get that call of flowers. Potato cakes with smoked dried tomatoes and okra. Okra people will buy to pickle, to deep fry, sometimes for gumbo, but there's a million other things you can do with it. It even makes a good omelet in slices. Some people eat it raw. It's an unusual, I don't know any other plant in that family, but it's terrifically good for you. It really soothes your gut if you have tummy problems, and just sauteed like this in a little oil, delicious. Beautiful Boggy Creek. That must have been early spring with the iris blooming. Fried green tomatoes. They have so many varieties of heirloom tomatoes. That's, I think, Larry's favorite time of year, when all the tomatoes are setting and there's an amazing variety. The grocery store where they've been shipped and were probably picked days, if not weeks ago, just can't compete. Leeks are garlic, I'm sorry. If you haven't had fresh garlic, it's very different from the dried varieties. I love these. Looks like a punk band, doesn't it? Turnips sauteed with turnip greens. A little bit of vinegar. That's a good lunch. Squash blossoms. Stuff these with a cheese mixture, batter them and deep fry them. I've seen that in Italy, and I've seen it on the Navajo reservation. I don't know who started it, but it was a good idea. So cucumber salad with some tomato and basil, a little olive oil, salt, pepper, feta. Again, what a great lunch. Here's Larry at the Mueller farm stand. They're there on Sundays. That farmer's market is growing. There's a lot of people that can't get there on Saturdays, and so on Sundays they take some up to the Mueller uh, farm stand. It's just inside the entrance. You'll see a kind of half circle dome protection that they're underneath there. I believe that it is 9 to 1 on Sundays. There's also another farmer's market. Uh, Google Farmers Markets Austin, and you'll get a whole list. The farmers market on Sunday at Highland Mall is the Barton Creek Farmers Market, and they're over at Barton Creek Square on Saturday. A lot of variety. I've gotten duck eggs there, which were wonderful. Pizza. This is not your Papa John's. That's how it came out. Just beautiful. Once again, everything you need to know about fast food. I love the contrast here. And there's Larry and Carol Ann. Looks like a high school prom, doesn't it? A pretty couple. That was the comparison between the tycoons of organic food in Austin and the pizza tycoon. And Larry with their longtime customer. She's been coming since the farm's first day of the farm stand. It's still there. Quality Seafood Market. Best place in Austin to get seafood. They get in whole fish, so the mislabeling that you've been reading about doesn't occur there. They also have a fabulous restaurant. They're now doing roast oysters. The prices, like the farmers markets, may seem high, and you get what you pay for. It's pristinely fresh. Everyone behind the counter knows exactly what they've got, exactly when it came in, how to prepare it. Over on the right, the gentleman with the beard would be Lee. I believe he's the manager of the retail area. And don't know this guy's name, but I've talked to him frequently. Beautiful quality. They have a lot of frozen, already prepared dishes if you're not a cook. But it's a very clean, beautifully run facility. They wholesale to a lot of the restaurants in town too. That would be turbot with a coleslaw and pineapple salsa. This is how fish is supposed to look. It doesn't look dried out, it's shiny, it smells like you just opened a window onto the Gulf. Salmon and the Darth Vader fish. Johnson's Backyard Garden. I have a CSA this year with them, which is community supported agriculture. You give them the money at the first of the year when they need, you pay for a year up front effectively. And now every 2 weeks I pick up a huge bag full of seasonal fresh organic produce. Got mine the other day and I had sweet potatoes, cabbage, carrots, beets, kohlrabi, a lot of lettuce greens, some rainbow chard, several other things. It's a great deal. If economy is something that you value, it's a great deal for money, but it's also a tremendous deal for time because you don't have to shop for it. You save an hour because you pick it up, and it's challenging. Sometimes there's something in there you've never had, and you've got to figure out how not to waste it. They're much bigger than Boggy Creek, obviously. They farm several tens of acres, I believe, off 183, kind of behind behind Callahan's, and they supply a lot of the restaurants. They're at most of the farmers markets, and they're very nice people. When you go to the farmers market to buy, the people that you meet there are also the people who've raised the food. They can tell you everything about it. This is spectacular. Those are the lettuces coming out of the greenhouse, getting ready to go out to garden. One of the farmers. I believe he's one of the owners. It's pretty gorgeous. Seared cauliflower, that was from Johnson's Backyard Garden. You can slice the cauliflower, toss it with oil, with a little bit of seasoning in it. Curry's good. Garlic and onion powder's hard to beat. Chili powder's good. And then put it in the oven, pretty hot oven, 400 degrees until it's tender. It gets a nice caramelization on it like this. It's not at all like the steamed vegetables that your mom or Donna Reed might have made for you. You're like Goat Farm. Was established by this woman, Sarah, who we lost to breast cancer several years ago. Her daughters are running to her left now. And every time they enter a competition, they come home with blue ribbons nationally. We're blessed to have them. They're out in Dripping Springs. and the cheese is world class. Use the feta with a little olive oil and rosemary, or chives, I'll bet, and some basil. Absolutely delicious. Extremely good for you. These girls are out there harvesting vitamin D3 and eating a huge variety of vegetables, so it's rich in minerals and delicious. This is another farmer's market on Sundays. It's the Hope Farmers Market, just off of I-35 East on 4th Street. I've been there a couple of times. A lot of good variety. I believe they're going to have seedlings here pretty soon. It's February. So several of the markets will start bringing in seedlings. Johnson's Backyard Garden has seedlings. So bacon, I think, has been wrongly vilified. Again, like the goats at Pure Luck Goat Farm, pigs that are allowed to walk around, eat a variety of foods, soak up the vitamin D3. The foods actually, the bacon is good for you. We've demonized fat for decades, and look where it's gotten us. There's a lot of references on that on my website. If you'll check some of the blogs, some of the references for the books. Fat's not something to be frightened of, but there's a lot of bad fat out there. It's good fats, it's bad fats. But if you eat real bacon from a real pig that's not treated with a lot of chemicals, it will indeed turn you into a true warrior. This is Salt and Thyme, new restaurant, butcher shop, bakery in East Austin, 1912 East 2nd Street, 7th Street, apologize. It's just past Chacon, just past the Houston Tillotson campus. A couple of men opened it recently, and within 3 weeks of being open, they were mentioned in Bon Appetit magazine. The meat is artisanally prepared, absolutely spectacular. When you go in, it's going to seem a little pricey, but again, you're getting what you pay for. If you want to buy chemicals, you can save a lot of money. I like what Joe Sallin says. You think buying organic food is expensive? Have you priced cancer lately? This is Brian on the left and Ben on the right, the two owners. Happy men. They're living the dream. They've wanted to have this shop for a very long time, and it's worth going in just to see the smiles. Here's their sausage coming out of the smoker. They're putting up a new sign. It is now February, end of February 2013. I think they've been open 3 or 4 weeks now. They're doing pickles. I picked up some pickled beets there today. It's a natural lactic acid for fermentation. A ton of probiotics. Copa. It's a spice rubbed, naturally dried pork loin. It's right up there. This domestic organic to me is right up there with prosciutto for deliciousness and flavor. Unlike prosciutto, you don't need to eat that much. Real food nourishes you and satisfies you. When you're eating empty calories, you got to keep eating, hoping you're going to run into something you use. There's their prosciutto drying. Some of their products. And this is how the factories do it. Not that appealing. This is how they do it. They have tremendous respect. They're beautifully raised animals. They've had lives. They've been running around outside. And these guys are absolutely tender with them when they come into the shop. There's frequently, when I was in today, there was half a pig hanging behind the counter that they were starting to take out. And these are the boys. These are happy pigs. That's what a happy pig looks like. You can see the smiles. This is their fried chicken. This is someone else's fried chicken. With bacon. Daidu is another one in town that does a lot of meats. Mostly they do finished products, things like confit, rillettes, pâté, but artisanal, locally sourced, organic, naturally and humanely raised, and sustainably raised. Collards. This is one of the CSAs, the Community Supported Agriculture boxes from a different place. This is Farmhouse Delivery. To give you an idea of what you get, this is probably fall given the Brussels sprouts and beets. In summer, you'll be getting a lot more tomatoes and eggplant and zucchini. But it's local, it's seasonal, and it's delicious. They also carry the breads. They have milking milk out of Waco. See, that's a great smile. I mean, this woman enjoys her work and she's proud of what she produces. You can't say that for a lot of the food production. That one, for example. Live Oak Barbecue, half block west of Pleasant Valley on 2nd Street. This is their idea of a pork chop. It's also my idea of a pork chop. This is a bison burger with locally grown collards, and I don't think they're doing fermentation, but that's a cabbage and carrot sauerkraut. That was a great plate. Delicious. Lots of probiotics in sauerkraut too. They have Saturday specials at 2 o'clock. You can line up. Today I believe it was short ribs, 6-gun short ribs. And this one was kind of the legendary one. It's got quite a following. When they do it again, there will be a line out the door. It's pork belly cold feet, which means that it's cooked in fat and then smoked. Not something you're going to sit down and eat a half a pound of. Maybe half an ounce. It's incredibly rich and delicious. It's their porchetta. That's stuffed pork loin that you saw Salt and Thyme making. Or the farm dinners. I believe that's the green corn dinner. And this is basically where we're going to end up. This is our farmers walking out of the farmland with their suits and their briefcases, moving to the factory, which is producing a lot of our food now. So thank you for listening, and bon appetit.